ceremony. That was a direct slap in the face to the Hendersons. After offering me some reassurances, my parents hurried off to figure out how to salvage the situation. I sat in the corner, quietly thinking about how to proceed with the reception when I heard a commotion at the entrance. Instinctively, I looked up. Walking through the door in a tailored black suit was a strikingly handsome man. This man was Christopher "Chris" Westfield, the current head of Westfield Corporation, and technically, Enoch's father. Despite being 35, he looked like he was barely in his 20s. Chris rarely attended large social events. Even I had only met him a handful of times. So seeing him here, now drew the attention of every family present. People practically tripped over themselves to get to him. Staring at Chris's perfect features, a wild idea flashed in my mind. As I watched him politely turn down everyone's advances, he suddenly walked straight toward me. "Mr. Westfield," I greeted him with a polite smile, though I couldn't hide a hint of vulnerability in my voice. His voice, low and melodic like a cello, came next. "Miss Henderson, I apologize for Enoch's behavior. I've already sent people to find him. When he's caught, you may decide what happens to him. I'll inform everyone that the wedding is postponed, and Westfield Corporation will cover all expenses." It was a perfect solution, but I had a better plan. "Mr. Westfield, this engagement has always been between the Hendersons and the Westfields, right? The groom doesn't necessarily have to be Enoch, does it?" "What?" His eyes darkened, clearly taken aback by the sudden turn. After a pause he asked, "Well, who would you choose then?" I smiled sweetly, extending my hand. "Would you be my groom?" Although Chris is Enoch's father in name, he isn't his biological dad. There were rumors Chris had certain physical shortcomings, which is why he was still unmarried. At 25, he adopted Enoch from a distant relative. Whether or not those rumors were true didn't concern me. Medical advancements these days are incredible. I'm sure any issue could be resolved, and if not, well, maybe we just don't have kids. Chris raised an eyebrow, amused by the bold smile on my face. "Are you sure?" "Of course," I replied without hesitation. After all, Chris was far more attractive than Enoch, by miles. Even if the rumors were true, just looking at his face every day would be more than enough for me. It sure beats being humiliated by a two-timing Enoch. Chris studied me for a long moment before finally nodding. "All right." His strong masculine hand clasped mine, and my heart skipped a beat. The wedding went on with a new leading man. I didn't even have to change my dress. The elegant white gown, paired with Chris's custom-tailored black suit, made us look like we were always meant to be bride and groom. Everyone at the reception caught on quickly. Enoch's sudden disappearance wasn't exactly a secret, and the guests had more or less figured it out. The media, sensing a scandal, had their cameras ready, eager to capture the drama unfolding between two of New York's wealthiest families. But when they saw me walking down the aisle, arm in arm with Chris, jaws dropped. The audacity of switching grooms at the last minute left them all speechless. The officiant, ever the professional, read off the updated details with ease. "Please, exchange your rings." Chris pulled out a ring and slid it onto my finger, and I did the same for him. I quickly noticed the ring didn't quite fit. After all, it was sized for Enoch. It was a rushed job, but it would have to do. Then came the moment for the groom to kiss the bride. I felt a wave of nerves. Chris was known for being discreet and private. He rarely attended events, and when he did, he never had a date. Would he really want to kiss me in front of all these people? I regretted dragging him into this mess on a whim. But before I could spiral into doubt, I felt the soft pressure of his lips on mine. Shocked, I opened my eyes, and there he was, his perfect face, inches from mine. Sensing my surprise, Chris gently cupped the back of my head, deepening the kiss. I closed my eyes again, letting myself sink into the moment as the crowd around us erupted into applause. My parents had no idea about my last-minute decision, but faced with the congratulations from everyone around us, they had no choice but to smile and accept it. They couldn't possibly embarrass their daughter in public, could they? During the reception, my mom pulled me aside into a private room where my dad was already waiting. She locked the door behind her. "Laurel, what is going on? How did you end up marrying Chris Westfield?" "Because he's handsome." I had no better explanation for my sudden impulse. "Handsome?" My mom thought about it for a moment. "Well, he is good-looking, but he's more than 10 years older than you. He was almost done with elementary school when you were born. So what? They say older men are more caring." I tried to play it cool, but there's a rumor he can't, well, you know. Yikes. This was going to be tough to explain. Before I could figure out how to dodge that landmine, there was a knock on the door. My mom opened it, and there stood Chris. I had no idea how long he'd been standing there. With practiced ease, my parents plastered on polite smiles, as if they hadn't just been gossiping about the man. "Mr. Westfield, what brings you here?" "I'd like to have a word with you both if you don't mind," Chris said. I have no idea what he said to them, but by the time their conversation ended, my parents were no longer opposing the marriage. In fact, they seemed genuinely impressed with him. "Chris is quite something," my dad said approvingly. "He's capable, resourceful. Sure, he's a bit older, but that kind of man can protect our daughter." Enoch, who ran away like a coward, certainly couldn't. After the wedding I moved into the Westfield estate. This was Chris's personal residence, and it was my first time there. The decor was modern, minimalist, with everything in black, white, or gray. After a day filled with endless socializing, I could feel the alcohol and sweat clinging to my skin. Chris headed off to shower first, while I relaxed on the couch. I could hear the sound of the water running, and through the frosted glass of the bathroom door, I could just make out his silhouette. My cheeks flushed with embarrassment, so I quickly averted my eyes. Eventually the water stopped, and out of habit I glanced up as Chris emerged from the bathroom. He was wearing a robe, the collar slightly open, revealing a chiseled chest and abs. I stared, wide-eyed. I hadn't expected him to look so fit. Chris caught me looking and gave a small amused smile. "Laurel, maybe you should take a shower too," he said, his voice deep and teasing. Snapping out of my daze, I bolted into the bathroom, my face burning. As the water rushed over me, my mind replayed the way he'd called me by my name. How had I not noticed before how charming he was? After my shower, I realized I'd forgotten to bring my clothes into the bathroom. There was no choice but to crack open the door just a bit and call out, "Chris, I forgot my clothes. Can you grab the bag on the couch and hand it to me?"